835 days.
Sorry, my maths. In the last 830 days, they will have been treated abysmally. I'm very sorry to say that for all the Canadians who are concerned about them, because they would have been held in very, very Spartan conditions, tolerant conditions. Initially, I believe they were held on their own, and that meant that they would have suffered a lot of mental damage, really, from the lack of company. I mean, human beings need company. But I believe that later on, they may have been transferred to cells.
White people talk about how hard white people have it.
From a point of view of humanity, I suppose that's a little bit better. But the conditions in these cells are appalling. Usually, based on my own experience, you don't have beds in the cells.
Yeah, because this guy's a convicted criminal in China, too, so he knows what he's talking about.
There's no furniture in the cells normally in a detention center. And the sanitary conditions are extremely poor. You know, there's a hole in the floor type of toilet in the corner of the cell. There's an old, heavy sink with cold water only. You have to wash with cold water and so forth. And going through that in the winter in parts of China where they are based is absolutely awful, because winter is like your winter. It's very cold. And the food conditions in these, in my experience, convict labour was used to bring a food trolley along the corridor of the cell block, and they would pass doggy bowls through the bars of the door into the cell, and usually the food was cold. It was usually quite dirty. And, if you think about vegetables, you should think about the scraps from the vegetables that we throw away when we're preparing them for the pot, because that's the kind of quality of vegetables they normally have for Christmas, and there would be very little meat in
Black people don't know what you're talking about. Scraps.
So it's really quite physically quite stressful. And on top of that, you're deprived of any contact with your loved ones, with your family, with your friends, and you're not getting proper consular visits at the rate and level that you are entitled to, which is what happened in their case. And you're not getting free access to legal advice at key moments. You are interrogated without any legal advice.
Yeah, but it's not
answer their questions without any legal advice.
Let me step in and ask you this, though, because when you basically had to make an involuntary confession and you were tortured yourself, but these two men, we're talking 2021 now, tensions with China are obviously much more acrimonious in the world.
So is it safe to say that
it would be worse for the Michaels, and what would their chance of freedom be now?
Two Michaels.
I think it has certainly been worse for the Michaels, especially in the early months of their detention.
Which Michaels?
As we all know,
the two Michaels.
They were taken hostage. They were hostages against the arrest of Meng Wanzhou. And in that sense, it's been harder for them than it is for whatever an ordinary detainee might be. Much harder, and I think
that's why it's spelled M-E-N-G. All these British people keep calling her mom.
Worse because tensions have ratcheted up even higher, and I believe that Chinese deliberately timed the two trials, to coincide roughly with these first high-level talks between the Chinese and the American government, which took place yesterday in Alaska. This was a deliberate, finger in the eye type of thing to remind the Americans that, we've got these two Canadian hostages, and it's all because you ordered the arrest of Meng Wanzhou and so forth. I'm sure that the timing was because of this. And so this is a reminder, this juxtaposition of these events, on two sides of the planet, today and yesterday, is a deliberate reminder to the North Americans.
This natural gas thing will never get built.
They're not going free until you sort out this Meng Wanzhou problem.
And I suspect, these two men have been in horrible conditions, as you were. They have, to our knowledge, been able to keep their sanity with limited activity, just kind of keeping their minds active in that. But how did you keep your sanity?
That's that weird positive thinking you just did.
I've actually read a little bit of private correspondence from one of the two Michaels to their family. They have been allowed to write one or two letters occasionally.
No criminal charge.
See that their experience was very
white bitches like this telling me what my mental health is.
They
know me. They don't. They just lie.
It's actually one of the ways that you keep your sanity. I mean, under international law, you should be allowed to communicate with your family.
Caucasoids, you are mentally ill
these two guys. I mean,
in ways that no other race can comprehend.
Well, but I think for these two guys, it's been severely curbed. But it is one of the things that even if you don't know whether the letter reaches your wife or your son or whoever, the act of writing is something which is kind of calming and cleansing.
What?
Secondly, you get through
writing or rioting
every day by reading. And in the early stage of their detention, they were even deprived of reading materials, which is really cruel, because this is actually one of the ways that you keep sane and keep your mind functioning in a normal and straight.
You won't let us have copies of our fucking disclosure.
I read more books in 23 months in Chinese cells than I read in the previous 23 years. And that is something that keeps you sane. And the third thing that helps you get through is knowing that there are people out there who love you.
Oh, is this like the how to survive in jail type thing? Is that the angle you're trying to give it? The problem is, all you are is a criminal. You're not a gangster. You're just a criminal. You live somewhere, broke the rules, got caught.
Between me and my wife. And so it is really important for governments to lobby for that family correspondence, contact between a prisoner and their family and so forth, to keep them sane. And allowing letters through, allowing a few family photographs through, and so forth. Those are the key three things, I think, that help to keep someone on the rail. Physically, they will also need to do something, because
the Western world in the Cold War.
And I do remember that I think it was the Canadian Air Force who designed decades ago, designed one of the best storeroom exercise plans ever designed. And so they would need to try and develop a daily exercise program within their confined space to try and keep themselves from deteriorating too much physically.
Just before I let you go, Peter, quickly, what would you be telling, I mean, given the UK government lobbied for you, our government has tried to appease China for the last few years. It has not worked. What should Justin Trudeau do in his approach now with China?
I think that Justin Trudeau has sat on the fence in many issues with China, and I would agree with you that there's been a lot of appeasement, maybe more appeasement than hard talk. And this is completely wrong. You know, I've discussed this issue once or twice with Canadian diplomats in the UK. 2 years ago, I told them about a Canadian prisoner in my prison in Chingfu who was dying from cancer. The last few days, I've heard that he has died, and I haven't heard a peep out of the Canadian government. This was because, you know, he was not treated properly and well.
But not being released, just get treatment for throat cancer.
This kind of sit on the fence and be quiet thing is also seen in the way that CRT, your TV regulator, has not been doing anything about
I'm supposed to hate Italians.
Received in 2019 over the use of televised confessions on Canadian Airways by CGTN. You know, the Canadian government has really failed. I think it's failed to protect its citizens, both abroad and home. And it's time really to be tough. I mean, I know that there is this dilemma.
These same people will tell us to shut up and not block the road that they think they paid for by buying gas.
Long term here, and what is in the long term?
Because they think they paid for everything we get that we get for free.
And not some short term.
But now you're talking fiduciary duty
gains. You know, this is really ridiculous. Canada needs to get off its hands.
Yes, totally agree with you. Peter, I can't thank you enough for your time.
The Supreme Court said you're required to hand over to trustees of our choice. Hey, Justin, you like having your house broken into? It's going to keep happening.
Like your own, but I'm afraid it's, you know, we're in different times. But I do very much appreciate your time with us.
Let me just say one more thing as this is recorded. I just know something. That until the end of 2018, China had a habit of broadcasting televised forced and false confessions on TV, and it aired those confessions in foreign countries. Your airwaves, my airwaves. In November of 2018, I submitted a complaint to the UK television regulator Ofcom. And in the last few months, I've managed to have Chinese television kicked off the airwaves in the UK.
Which brings us to today. Step by step brings us right to today.
A couple of years ago, and set the ball rolling for a whole slew of similar complaints which followed it from other people. I believe that the two Michaels probably would have been paraded on television inside a cage like I was. So far they haven't done that, and I suspect it's because they do realise that they will suffer severe penalties if they do that to these two innocent men.
Oh, they're innocent now. Have not been tried, but they're innocent
very
now.
humble thanks for your time and your shared experience. I very much appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
There's Peter Humphrey joining us here.
You won't say a word about being you listen to him, everything he's got to say.
Right now to help others.
He's white. Black person says anything about the jail system in Canada. Oh, it's coming from the mouth of a criminal.
Oh. Just a second here, on point, on Global News Radio.
Checking the roads and chopper traffic.
It's mental illness, but it's not your fault.
And after those problems on the North 410 at Courtney Park cleared away, we aren't done yet with problems on the 410. Now we got a collision northbound on the 410.
20 minutes they were talking about sex offenders
and blocking the HO
and a hairdresser
with
on.
delays from about Steeles. There's also
Very
a town collision reported now on Danforth Avenue, just east of Coxwell. Looking to buy a home? Purple Bricks has dedicated home buying realtors in your community ready to help and give you $2,000 cash back. Visit purplebricks.ca. Restrictions apply. I'm Ari Urbinovich, Global News.
Any reason, or if your employer.
L'astrologie du jour en France, je tombe sur toutes sortes d'affaires. Je participe moi-même le soir à des clubs très politiques, mais le matin, pendant la vie, pendant le matin européen, je perfectionne mon italien. Je suis tombée la nuit dernière sur une gang qui apprenait l'italien à des gens qui ne sont pas italophones. Et il y avait un gars.
Northbound 410, a bunch of them were today. Northbound 410 approaching Queen. It looks like we have a collision now blocking the left shoulder, maybe a piece of the right lane underneath that bridge, but it looks like mainly the left shoulder, and we have emergency crews on scene, and everyone is making their way through here because problems at Courtney Park cleared, so the floodgates opened and everyone started heading north. Northbound 410 is slow from Steeles to approaching Queen, where again, the left shoulder piece of the left lane blocked off here. No problems on the southbound 410, and the 401 still looks good across the city both ways. 407 ATR remains committed to supporting customers and communities in the GTA throughout the long-term recovery. Learn more at 407atr.com/road to recovery. Your next report is at 8:31, and now with the forecast, here's Natasha Rathai.
-2 degrees is going to be the overnight low, and morning wake-up wind chill around -6. It's clear tonight, sunny tomorrow and 14, sunny on Sunday and 13 degrees, and still sunny on Monday with a high of 14. All 3 days, you'll be a little bit cooler along the lakeshore. There will be more cloud Tuesday and rain not until Wednesday. Tonight down to a low of -2.
1 degree, a clear sky downtown, feels like -3 and sitting at 3
It's like an urban myth about Toronto. Oh, it'll be cooler by the lake. It's kind of like, oh, the clouds will hold the heat in.
Patio season coming to Toronto and Peel regions and gray zones across the province as the province decides that they can invite people to their patios, as red zones are having their indoor capacity increased to 50%. And Halton Public Health declaring an steakhouse in Oakville after 4 employees tested positive. We'll have the details on these stories and much more straight ahead.
It's the 680 News.
Businesses that run like clockwork establish routines they trust. That's why over 1 million companies rely on
lightning, one of nature's most powerful forces. And now, OLG has taken lightning and turned it into a lottery. We call it Lightning Lotto. A $125,000 jackpot keeps growing until it's won. Buy a ticket on the spot, and you could win big.
Buy a ticket on the spot.
Work for you.
From talking
as opposed to like putting in an order for the future, right?
You need to know about COVID-19
and answers about your job and finances.
They expect you to play lotteries entirely digitally online.
680 News.
And have it auto renew over and over and purchase your shit on a subscription.
Working for you.
A volcano that's been dormant for over 6,000 years has finally erupted. The Fagradal's mountain volcano, located in the Reykjanes Peninsula in Iceland, erupted earlier tonight. This is the first eruption in the peninsula in nearly 800 years. Aerial footage from the Icelandic Meteorological Office is showing 2 small streams of lava running in opposite directions,
The Department of Emergency Management says they do not intend to evacuate anyone just yet. There is still hope for 2 Canadians detained in China for over 2 years who will be released even after one of them had a snap trial that will likely lead to a guilty verdict. 680's Monica Gould reports Canadian consular officials and journalists weren't even allowed to attend the 2-hour hearing for Michael Spavor, who's charged with spying under China's national security laws.
China's court says it will deliver its verdict at a later date, but with a conviction rate close to 100%, it's not a mystery what the decision will be. Jim Nicol, the Canadian Embassy's deputy chief of mission, among those not allowed into the trial.
Working closely with
among those not allowed. Guess what? Nobody was allowed.
Immediate release of Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig.
Spavor and fellow Canadian Michael Kovrig have been languishing in a Chinese jail since December 2018. Arrested days after a Huawei executive was arrested in Vancouver at the request of the U.S. Jacques Delisle, an expert on Chinese law and politics at the University of Pennsylvania, thinks there's still a chance the two will be freed.
The real hope for the Michaels here is that sometime down the road, some deal will be struck and the Chinese will find a face-saving way of saying we're letting them go.
Kovrig goes to trial in China on Monday. I'm Monica Gould.
Like, I don't want
60
to
seconds of the business report with Richard Hunter.
680 News Time, 8:25. They say winter is a time to
I got a problem with that guy because his name is Warren
like
Beer.
impeccable
Right off the
craftsmanship,
bat.
luxurious
How'd you get that
appointments, and a
thing?
short performance. Perhaps it would be better
Did
to say that
something
winter
wrong
is the
hundreds of
time to
years ago, you
appreciate
had
the
to.
Lexus, especially with the advanced capability of Lexus all-wheel drive. And with exceptional offers on right now, your time to appreciate a
sauce, I wanna get it
Lexus
out.
might be closer than you think. Lease a 2021 Lexus RX 350 for 1.9% APR with bi-weekly payments as low as $278. Visit your Greater Toronto area Lexus dealer for details.
Tuesdays, The Rock brings his true life story to City TV with the brand new comedy, Young Rock. When you dream big, the sky's the limit. Witness The Rock's coming of age story.
Bob, the answer is no. I mean, it shouldn't have taken thought. There is no fairness in China, period. No.
Oh, wow.
Look, the guy is being measured, and he needs to be.
Absolute
He's the
poverty.
prime minister
You
of the
have it.
country. His job is not to pour gas on this fire. He's a force that it already
Yes.
is. And he's being cautious and not grandstanding. There are many things of concern on this file, as you can put it in the big government. I don't think that response by him is one of them. His job right now is not to put gas on the fire, to work with the U.S., to work with the international group, and it's to kind of begin to reorient ourselves economically away from the Chinese and politically, certainly, away from the Chinese government.
I mean, he doesn't have to pour gasoline on it, Anthony, but it would be nice if he whizzed on it.
Well, but here's the thing. I mean, what Bob's saying makes perfect sense within the confines of traditional diplomacy when you're dealing with a rational actor. But we're not here, and China's made it clear, actually abundantly clear, that they don't believe in an independent judiciary, and they also don't believe in traditional diplomacy as well. So by submitting to them, that's also a version of pouring gasoline on the situation, because they go, okay, this stuff works, we're going to do more stuff like this. I mean, they are a total wild card here in all of this. So, I mean, the point about distancing ourselves from China and trying to make sure we find other allies in that region and, broaden our relationships with other countries is certainly the direction we need to be heading in right now. And that's what this underscores, because you just have no way of knowing which way to go with these guys.
Yeah, and Bob, your phone was a little bit crackly in the last one. I mean, the man I interviewed, Peter Humphrey, said, I know that everyone wants to be careful because they don't want to bring more harm to the Michaels, but he said at this point, Canada's got to start thinking about Canada in the bigger picture and your national security. You've got to get tough with them.
Well, I think the Biden administration's only been here for a couple of months. I think they will be obviously a better ally on this one. Give them a little time to see if they can be helpful. And if we can make a change here, if we can't, then Canada's going to have to pivot on its approach on this issue. But I think we need to buy some time.
We will see where we go on Monday. I guess we'll get kind of a clearer picture on what is going to happen with these men. Ontario's Sunshine List, and I don't know how I didn't think it was coming out, because it always comes out right before Easter, and it always gets dumped right late Friday afternoon, so no one can see it. But boy, did we see it, and boy, is it offensive. I mean, there's more than 205 100,000 public sector workers on it this year that are making more than 100,000.
Library
Look at teachers, there's been a 23% increase in teachers making over 100K.
There's a book on fermentation.
You got the CEO of University Health Network making 144K. Dr. Davila making 336K. Dr. Williams $444,000. Dr. Lowe, $358,000. It goes on and on and on. And Anthony, I saw this list, and maybe what might not seem offensive in other years just shows the divide of those working in government and private sector. And if they were doing a good job, I'd say, okay, but I don't know if this is earned.
Yeah, because when it comes to some of them, like the teachers, I mean, they were going into a stressful situation in September, but otherwise they had extra weeks off this year. So you're telling me they got extra pay. When it comes to those chief medical officers, the one that really sticks in my craw,
2 years of school, all the kids got passed with 70, no matter what the fuck work they did or didn't do. Oh, and your final grade gets set by some random test your teacher gets to decide. And I haven't heard any reports back on that.
And I say, excuse me, if you deserve
same teachers, they say a liquor store bag is the same as a medicine.
Going gets tough. Put some heads together, guys. Earn this money and show that you should have these top jobs. Because right now, this idea of you got to keep everything shut down, into March, to April, 12 months is the thing. Do your jobs. If there's a hospital capacity issue, well, you manage that and you manage your surge capacity.
Yeah, I mean, Bob, when I think of all the people who aren't getting paychecks right now, when you think of the PSW workers who barely make minimum wage and work all those hours, and then you look at I don't begrudge people getting paid a fair salary, but, so much loss this year.
I've worked with a number of these people. They're hardworking. They're good people. That's all.
A number. Zero is a number. You know that, right?
They're getting a salary and a paycheck every 2 weeks. I bet every
2 fucking weeks,
and have not close to it, owns a home, and have gotten an updraft.
One for the rent, one for
the
everything
housing market in the last 10 to 15 years. And I bet you everybody on that list also has a pension. We're starting to have two Ontarios. One where there's a privileged Ontario with the public
that's 20 million.
Class, and one where there are entrepreneurs taking out there day to day. That is an unhealthy situation.
Some of these people make it.
Yeah, and it really seems to stick out this year more than any time. I mean, the list has been growing for a number of years. And by the way, when I opened the phone lines on this, there was outrage by and far. I mean, it's that kind of issue that really lights up. And I had a really thoughtful call, Nathan, from a paramedic named Nathan, who said, "Look, I work in the public sector, and I'm willing to take a pay cut because I see the disparity of my neighbors."
What a hero. I appreciate that because a lot of people a lot of public servants are incredibly resentful and entitled when they hear people complaining about things. But Bob makes a great point that, if teachers are making over 100K, I mean, it's hard for restaurant owners, small business owners to make 100K, and they're sometimes putting up their home as collateral.
This is our raisin scoop.
Yeah, most oftentimes. Let me pause it there, guys, and when we come back, we'll dive into a little bit of the Conservative Convention. I'm not sure if either of you watched the speech that was delivered by Mr. O'Toole. I just read through the transcript. And a couple of other things we'll throw around on the table. We'll do that in just a second on round 2 of Counterpoint, brought to you by our good friends at Pizzaville. Stay with us here. Alex Pearson on point. This is Full News Radio.
Does your business sound like this?
It's splash in my boot. That's right.
We'll make it sound like this.
Did I put any batteries in my
That's the sound of a business using Chorus to reach new customers. So learn how to go from this.
I got a crack shack to advertise.
To this.
Jimmy's Crack Shack. 24/7.
How may I help you?
Register now for a free 30-minute virtual consultation. And now is the perfect time.
It's bad enough out here, you're going to hear ads for everything.
Packages. Chorus.
They allowed the woman to say shit on the air today.
Radio. Elevators.
It's only a corporate decision not to allow that. It's
but when they're not operating correctly, it can cause
cannot.
serious disruptions. That's why CEE Elevator will set up a maintenance program to minimize or eliminate unnecessary downtime. During these pandemic times, your elevator needs to operate efficiently. With 24/7 service, CEE Elevator has offered the best customer service in the business for over 40 years now. Get a free quote at 905-428-8300 or visit ceeelevator.com.
Is it espresso or espresso?
You know what?
Did I leave my door locked? What's a cryptocurrency? We all have enough to worry about. Do you really need to worry if your money is safe in a bank? Not if you know about the Canada Deposit Insurance Corporation. If you save as a CDIC member, we protect your deposits. Wondering if you're covered? Talk to your financial institution or visit cdic.ca to find out.
If you have pain, see Dr. Lou Nally. Go to Pinpoint Health Clinic.
Pinpoint Health is there for all your pain care needs.
I know what pain is. And
Makes him nervous. Dr. Michael Warner, medical director at Michael Guerin Hospital, says it doesn't make any sense to expand indoor dining at restaurants in the context of a clearly defined third wave.
Today, I was asked to accept rescue transfers from overwhelmed ICUs in the GTA, not just Toronto, but the GTA. So these decisions that are being made in regions outside Toronto could lead to more ICU admissions to hospitals in those regions.
I'm Phil Martino.
Oh, the region public health is reporting a COVID-19 outbreak at a steakhouse in Oakville. 680's Michelle Mackey joins us live with the story and reaction. Michelle.
Scott Health and Public Health is warning anyone who dined at Oliver's Steakhouse from March 8th to 13th that they've been exposed to a COVID-19 variant of concern, and is asking those patrons to self-isolate and get tested. The health unit has declared an outbreak at the 141 Lakeshore East location in Oakville and is directing anyone who thinks they may have been exposed to contact 311 if they need more information. The owner of the steakhouse confirms that 4 staff members tested positive after one employee had a sore throat roughly 2 weeks ago. He adds that they offered to contact all guests who may have been exposed immediately after the test
just like
results
you're going to use our
last
Presto
week.
Pass.
But HPH said no. Now, in response to that claim, the health unit tells me Halton Region Public Health determined yesterday that transmission within the workplace occurred, and we declared an outbreak. As part of the investigation, it was determined that patrons were exposed, and we could not obtain a complete list of patrons. Therefore, immediate notification was required to inform them of their risk and protect others in our community. Reporting live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
Well, starting next week, more people in the province will be able to sign up for a COVID-19 vaccine. The 680's Alex Bloomfield tells us it comes as the province gets set to expand its pharmacy pilot project.
All Ontarians 60 and older will soon have the ability to book a vaccine appointment through one of 2 methods. The Premier announcing new eligibility for mass vaccination sites.
Starting Monday, March the 22nd, we will accept appointments for residents 75 years of age and older.
That's through the provincial portal, but the faster track may be through pharmacies.
I thought you had to have a health card. That's more than a resident.
Will be eligible
That's
to
more
book
than
an
a resident.
AstraZeneca shot, and retired
Yes,
General
you have to have a
Hillier
health card.
says the program
They
is
said you had to
expanding
get
from
details off your health
350
card.
stores in
Who's not
3
residents,
regions to province-wide.
In the next several weeks, we want to more than double that to
You would think
700,
resident
and in
just
this
means
couple of weeks
everybody
after
living,
that, we want to double that again to more than 1,500.
Pharmacies will also eventually roll out Moderna shots. The province hopes to reach 100,000 daily vaccinations sometime next week. I'm Alex Bloomfield.
Here with All News Radio 680 News at 8:37. A Chinese-Canadian group is saying racism against Asian Canadians is on the rise. Audra Brown of City News spoke with one man who started a local media campaign to raise awareness on the issue.
Started seeing these attacks kind of almost every second day, every third day, and it was always on an elderly person. It started with shoving and spitting and name calling.
Disturbing incidents like these, caught on camera across Canada and the U.S., have highlighted the increase in anti-Asian racist incidents. Lionel Wong says he's even experienced it personally.
Myself and my fiance have been told to go back to where we came from. This is what Shanghai must look like. We've been coughed on, and you can't brush it off.
He felt moved to do something to help spread awareness against the troubling trend.
I created
They cough on you, spit in their fucking eyes. See what they do, bro.
Asians all look the same. And then underneath the payoff, there's yet somehow you still manage to target the defenseless ones.
The Chinese-Canadian National Council for Social Justice says the increase in these hate attacks is disturbing and that people have to be aware that it is happening here in Canada. Audra Brown, City News.
680 News Time, 8:38. There are more reports from regions across the GTA about staff being harassed. Imagine going to work every day and facing harassment from the people you're trying to help. Several regions in the GTA say that's what's happening to staff. The latest comes from Durham. That region's chief administrative officer says she was saddened to hear that some employees who have been working around the clock to keep people healthy during COVID-19 are facing increasing incidents of abusive and threatening language. But Durham is not alone. Both York and Peel regions are reporting similar incidents. York saying it's happening both in person and over the phone.
These white people keep using the justification. Even outright, they say, well, they're the dominant, they're the most, so therefore, well, nobody's putting up with it, are they? Oh, well, since visible minorities are overrepresented in the COVID numbers and the healthcare and everything else.
Elementary school in Etobicoke. An 8-year-old girl grabbed in her schoolyard and almost abducted by a white male in a black ski mask. As we hear from Duty Inspector Michael Williams, at least one student, maybe more, saw what was happening and came over. It sounds like the kids that approached and noticed something was wrong may have intervened. The suspect ran off to a nearby ravine. The girl was not physically hurt. The 8-year-old girl is safe with her parents. They're now with investigators. This happened over the lunch hour in the schoolyard here behind St. John Vianney Catholic School. The suspect walked in through an open space in the back fence. Inspector Williams also confirming there are no security cameras facing the schoolyard or that fence. A statement from the school board says they will examine the perimeter of the school and make sure it is safe. On Thistledown Road, I'm Mark Douglas.
We'll check gas prices next.
It's madness this month at Nav Batias Hyundai.
Madness? This is March!
This March, get lease rates from 0.9% OAC. Don't pay for 90 days on all models, and the Essential Workers Program has been extended at all 3 Superfan locations. That's not all. The first 50 purchases this March will receive.
I haven't been able to do that for many months now. And isn't that kind of a crazy thing that it's illegal to go to the gym right now where I am in GTA? I really would have loved if the person who is running under the conservative banner to be the next leader of this nation would give us some sort of a sign as to how he feels about this historically unprecedented crazy stuff that's happening right now and all these civil liberty violations of Canadians, and he hardly mentioned it. Very appealing.
Went from, oh, we've done this before. Spanish food. Yeah, you did do this before. You got it backwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is something to it that you have to beat the
this
liberals
has
at their
never
own game
happened
because
before
they are
ever, and that's why we're
campaigners,
fucking it up like we don't know what we're doing on purpose.
Unfortunately, he can't travel, and neither can any of the other opposition leaders, so it's very, very difficult. I want to talk about this one a little bit because it's a story that's been in the news for 15 years, and that is primarily because those who did the killings just kind of seem to get a different kind of treatment. But the killer of 8-year-old Tory staffer Michael Rafferty is now accused of extorting his own mother and grandmother by a relative who came forward to Global News to say they extorted as much as $30,000 from his mother, claiming that he needed to pay for protection in jail. And then when Rafferty's mother passed away of a heart attack in 2018, he then started to extort his grandmother the same way. She passed away shortly after. And the relatives hold Michael 100% accountable for both of their deaths. Anthony, this is one of those stories that, I mean, I covered both of these trials, so I know every single detail of what they did to that young girl. And he is one of the most manipulative people. But this was brought to the attention of Corrections Canada, and it just seems that it never goes further. And they've come forward because they want Rodney Stafford to have more support, because they want him moved out of medium security and back to a harsher, full prison sentence because of just how manipulative he is.
Manipulative. And it's crazy to think that this is continuing to happen for an individual like this, the manipulation, as you put it so well, Alex, and you did such great coverage of this back when this was in the courts. And you hear it with other people as well, the manipulation. I mean, with Paul Bernardo and so forth. I mean, the stuff that some of these people do, manage to do still from behind bars is incredible.
It really is. I mean, if you remember, and he's in medium security now, Bob, but Terry Lynn McClintock, she is in a healing lodge. They have manipulated their way into the system. And honestly, if
they transfer sex offenders to medium security because it's easier to work with them to get them released faster.
There'd be so much more outrage. But that Rodney Stafford and that family have had to fight so hard just to get some action is so disheartening.
Yeah, I just still can't get it through my head. How is this allowed to happen? How is a prisoner allowed to get access to $60,000? Wouldn't that raise a few questions somewhere along the way? And how is this going on in our penal system? It makes no sense to me at all, and it's obviously something that needs to be taken a look at.
People know the rules and regulations. I'm so shocked this is happening. No, you've been getting ragged on for the last 20 years about how you're supporting this shit, and now you're all feigning disbelief and shock.
That they're ready for their parole.
Disapproval.
I'll stop with this one, but I wanted both of your thoughts on this. Alexia McCammon was slated to start a job as top editor of Teen Vogue, and she's now resigned over, the latest cancel culture for comments she made back in social media during her college days. She was 17. She made some very inappropriate jokes about Asians. She apologized in 2019. The magazine hired her and knew about those comments. She told them. They knew about the apology. They were okay with it. She was just named Journalist of the Year for her coverage of the 2020 election. Thank God social media wasn't around in our day, Anthony, or your day, Bob.
Then everybody would know where
I would not want out there when I was young. But where does this cancel and cancer of cancel culture stop? When?
People have to stop letting themselves get canceled, because this young woman went and put out a subsequent apology letter after this all came out, and her sort of voluntold, her sort of involuntary resignation that happened. It's got to stop. People just have to stand tall against all of this. Whatever rude remarks she said when she was a teenager, ideally the kids would not say that, but they do, and then they grow up to be productive members of society as adults. And I think what you've got to do is, if anybody's in that situation, you say, I am not resigning. And if you fire me, it's not going to be with cause. So I'm going to get my employment lawyer, and you're going to pay for it.
Oh, but you taught this girl not to take all the benefits she's entitled to as a human in this country, or whatever country.
Have to have the cojones to ride the wave and let this stuff pass.
Do what's right.
I agree, Bob. I mean, it's just this Generation Z is so thin-skinned. Pepe Le Pew,
emotionally shafted her out of what she's entitled to.
Eminem, they're trying to get rid of it. If we cancel everybody, eventually they'll cancel themselves.
The white guy wouldn't have quit. He would have made you fire.
It's not about that.
I'm in agreement with Anthony on this one. I thought this was excessive. Disclosed. She apologized in 2019, long before this job opportunity came. Look, people make mistakes in their lives, and if they apologize for them,
it's not cancel culture. It's virtue signaling. And to be racist to apologize for it later with a good person. I know how bad it is, because I changed.
And it was also fueled by a number of advertisers for people who were threatening to boycott. And I think that's a bit cowardly on their part too, as well.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but
they're paying
let's see where it takes us. But I think it's getting real tired for everyone.
They will lose the money,
all right, guys,
not the magazine.
Go back to doing nothing.
Long
Enjoy
after that publication is gone, that company that's advertising will still be trying to make money.
You too. It's supposed to be a beauty out there. Bob Richardson and Anthony Fury joining us here for round 2 of Counterpoint, brought to you by our good old friends over at Pizzaville. When we come back, talk about the Coyotes. There's an update on the Coyotes. Cody the Coyote, believe it or not. And we'll talk about something that happened to Biden today. That
viewpoint on it.
Trump.
I can see this animal, so it has to be handled this way, the way I think it should be
done.
done.
Alex Pearson on point with you.
This animal isn't doing what I wanted it to do.
On Golden News Radio.
I'll throw it out by a new one.
Checking the roads and chopper traffic. Here's our River
So all the people that got animals from animal services this year, that they're saying there's none left to adopt. It's the same people that buy them every year. This year they can't afford to buy them. So they live back and get all the animals they can throw away.
Now looking good. And Town Routes is also
good.
News problems on 10 Northeast of Coxwell now cleared away. Earn PC Optimum points exclusively at Esso and mobile stations. Fill your tank, fuel your points at over 2,000 Esso and mobile stations. I'm Ari Yerbinovich, Global News Radio, 640 Toronto Chopper Traffic.
Upgrades and massive experiences and.
Are you an employer with immediate vacancies but need assistance to find and hire staff? Call the staffing experts. Achieve Employment Services can help you find assistance to find and hire staff.
Get access to a full range of recruitment resources, including no-cost job postings and hiring incentives.
Register online today at acatv.ca/employer.
We're supposed to turn off when I do that. There we go.
You're listening to All News Radio 680 News.
I hear my own voice come back.
Governor Andrew Cuomo faced a new accusation today, this time from a current aide.
Alyssa McGrath described to the New York Times a series of interactions with Governor Cuomo in which she would remark on her looks and make suggestive comments. McGrath said she found these interactions troubling after the fact, as she heard his repeated denials of sexual harassment allegations. She's the first current employee in the executive chamber to speak publicly about the governor's behavior. She told the paper Cuomo has a way of making you feel comfortable, but then you walk away and think, I can't believe I just had that interaction with the governor. Aaron Katersky, ABC News, New York.
The Prime Minister is denouncing the Chinese trials of the two Michaels, with the first being held earlier today.
Not the Michaels, the two Michaels.
2 hours, but it was behind closed doors. Canadian officials were denied entry, and no verdict was given. Michael Kovrig's trial begins Monday. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau criticizing China's treatment of the two Canadians.
Their arbitrary detention is completely
no different than what you do to black people in Indians here.
Transparency around these court
you need to get your front door kicked in again, stupid, or you lock it at night now, don't you?
Government is arrogant and hypocritical.
You're
the two Michaels were arrested on espionage
buddy.
charges in December
Come on,
2018
buddy, put the black face on and dance. Make it serious. You can no play it. I'm gonna fucking make things happen, dog. You think it's all gonna go away? No, you're good at it, dog. Put on the monkey bait and get going. You put black on one side and brown on the other or something.
A court challenge of British Columbia's COVID restrictions, which has essentially closed churches since November, has not been successful.
The Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms put together the challenge on behalf of a number of churches in the Fraser Valley. According to the center, the judge said Dr. Henry is not required to be correct in making her orders, but she only needs to have acted in a reasonable range of alternatives. The center insists the churches have gone to extraordinary lengths to comply with what it calls numerous health guidelines, and that many church members can't access online church services. The center has yet to say if it's going to appeal. I'm Ben Wilson.
Traffic and your extended forecast next. 680 News Time, 8:50.
The government of Canada urges Canadians to avoid all non-essential travel. All travelers 5 years of age or older entering Canada must provide proof of a valid COVID-19 molecular test result. Travelers will be tested again upon arrival. Air passengers are also required to book a 3-night stay at a government-authorized hotel at their own cost prior to entering Canada. Details at travel.gc.ca/travel-COVID. A message from the Government of Canada.
Who decides which employees can work from home?
Do I have to pay employees when they're self-isolating?
What can I do about staff who don't follow the guidelines when off duty? If you are confused about the rules of the workplace,
how come everybody that's in charge of anything is breaking the rules themselves when they're on duty and they're incredibly aggressive?
Or an employee, the team at Red Law will help you protect your rights in these challenging times.
HR lawyers,
and you know why I don't? Because their competitors would like it, and they're not much better people. Oh, I need another coffee. I don't have one. Oh, I'm gonna sort grapes and roll a joint. Oh, we don't have to roll a joint. I'm gonna roll a joint though. All I need to do is pull out all the ones that don't crush up when I squeeze them. Like that one crushes up, so therefore I should not have done that before rolling my joint. All the ones that crush up go in the oddball jar, which for now I'm not going to be planting outside. I was doing it the other way before. I was tossing out the oddballs outside because I wasn't sure if they grow or not in the winter. Oh, damn it. I do not want to touch my boots and then anything that's going in my mouth. I know it's a bad idea right now. I'm aware of it, and that's what makes it okay. So if you're wondering, this weighs 2.92. Yeah, and this is one, but I'm 99% sure. Oh, I took a small piece off it before too, didn't I? Did I? No, maybe I didn't. I might have. I'm not sure. It was about a 3 gram. It's close enough to 3 grams. If you got home and weighed it, it's 2.92, man. It's not 0.3. It's 2. It's 3. It's not 3. It's 2.92. I would exhale loudly into the phone and say, "What do you want me to do?" Oh, I didn't press play yet, did I? No. Oh. So my boots have reached this weird stage where they like wrap tightly into your foot and you can't pull the fucking things off. If you wear work boots, you know what I'm talking about. The leather uppers end up doing that for some reason. Oh. Or it's not even what work boots is. If you work in leather boots, there you go. That's the real. Oh, get some volume. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Oh. Please keep roast.